And we're back with the episode 52 of Odys Talks. Welcome back, everyone, to the show, which is naturally hosted by Odys Global, your one stop marketplace for age domains and website, as well as several additional services such as 3-in-1 redirects, CET audits, topic clusters, and fully managed hosting. Also, if you're looking to buy a site or domain or like several of them in installments, you can do it as well. So you just need to reach out to our team through the website and they'll sort you out. I'm your host, Vlad the Lad, and today I'm joined by two legends. It's Karl Hudson of Sarcheru and Max Geraci of Stacking Cloud and a number of other projects. So guys, why don't you go on and introduce yourselves? Max, why don't you go first since this is your first time on the show?
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys. I an agency in Bologna, northern Italy, and it's specialized in content marketing, SEO, and social media management. And also have a couple of tools. I have this new stacking.cloud that is a tool for cloud stacking, but also to generate HTML static website and deploy them on the clouds. And I also specialized in automation, SEO automation via Python and data analysis for retrieving actionable insights after analyzing or comparing websites.
Amazing. Welcome to the show. All right, Karl, once again, one more time. Come on, do it, man.
So I'm Karl. I'm a painter and decorator. I don't know much about websites or SEO. Vlad just keeps on pulling us on these talks. I have to make it all up as I go along. No, I'm Karl. I run Searcheroo. It's one of the businesses I'm involved in. There's quite a few of them. We do link building, stuff like this. We specifically focus more on ranking the links that you're buying as opposed to just doing a general guest post and stuff. But that's like a new feature that we just launched. And yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. I've been in SEO for far too long. I think I might actually start painting and decorating just to have a bit of change of scenery. Let the mind settle, because sometimes I think I've got repetitive strain injury from typing too much. That's how bad it's getting.
Oh man.
So I'm off to the physio today as well after this to go get me wrist.
Wow. All right. Well, welcome back to you to the show. Thanks for joining. And yeah, let's keep it rolling.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
We are live. All right, gentlemen, should we actually just go on and rage against the machine or not? I mean, how bad are things in your perspective in terms of automations and stuff like that? Are the machines already stealing the jobs of honest, hardworking SEOs and businessmen, or are they helping? I mean, we've talked about this for probably far too long on this show, but
Yeah.
either way, I really would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. In this phase, I think that it's really helping and supporting us is more a tool than something that could do the work for us. So embracing the automation and leveraging AI or machine learning algorithms or LLMs, the big language models, is for sure a way for SEOs to be much faster and to also notice nuances that are not possible to notice just with AI and the experience of an SEO. Because essentially machine learning is a way to analyze big data and to find patterns inside them. And patterns can be anything. If you analyze a site, you can create the so-called embeddings, the vectors, so the mathematical representation of a text. And once you have this numeric representation of them, you can do a lot of operations. Like, for example, the first one that comes in my mind is clustering. Once you cluster the content of a site, even a new client site you have to work on, one of the first things to do for me as an SEO leveraging these tools is doing a clusterization to try to understand which are the main topics treated by the website and how they clusters, if there are some gaps between the clusters, if the clusters that are based on the topic are also interlinked with internal links. And so is a good starting point, a good starting analysis to understand what's going on a website. And once you have a representation of the websites in the embeddings form, you can also compare it with other websites, even to understand and to guide the content team to fill the gap that your competitors are still ranking for. And so is the fastest way compared to traditional tools where you can do research for keywords gap, for example, with Ahrefs or SEMrush or whatever. With the embeddings, we are more focused on the topics and their semantic relationships. So it's a different way to look at the same data, the URLs and the keywords, and to associate the keywords to the topics. And then again, you can check if those topics that are similar and that are clustered together are also interlinked. So yeah, for me, using machine learning, using the embedding are at the base of everything we do today with the AI. The first step for this field of research was the publication in the open source world by Google of the word2vec algo. Word2vec is essentially the very first technology that we had to transform, and in fact it's based on transformers, to transform the text into numbers. And that opened up a new field of research, but also a new set of tools or algos that we can use to analyze the websites or to create our automations based on the analysis. Because once you analyze a site and understand which are the missing topics, for example, you can feed this data to an LLM and use it to generate text that is a guided generation. Is not just something based on the intrinsic knowledge of the LLM, but it's tailor-made to what you're missing and what you want to cover.
That is actually something that we're doing quite a bit in local is, so let's say, for instance, we're working with a business that has specific pricing, only works in specific areas. They only accept or cater for specific products. We've created like an LLM model based off all of that data. So then when we ask it to write content, it's actually featuring our prices, what we can and can't do in all of this based off of data we've gave it. Definitely improves like your standard sort of chat GPT output versus that you put the information in is like it's like miles apart, right? It's so much better.
Yeah. It's the same concept that is in the RAG, the retrieval augmented generation, that is having a database, a vector database, because as we said, we store the embeddings, the vectorial representation or the numeric representation of the text, and use this database, access this database to find information and then give the information back to the LLM. It's the same thing that is leveraged by the modern chatbots. But we can use the data, the research data, in the same way to feed the models once we create our prompts, and then to create a chain of prompts. A chain of prompts is when you have a prompt taking the result of the previous prompt as part of it. So we have a prompt with a placeholder, and instead of the placeholder, we can put keywords, entities, whatever, or even the text generated in the previous steps. And then we create this chain, starting with, for example, collecting data, scraping Google, collecting data from whatever you want. Amazon research, if you're doing review text, you can scrape the Amazon reviews, you can scrape your competition texts, you can scrape whatever you want and use the data to feed the model and create something that is tailor-made to even your style. Some of the tools now on the market for the article generation can also use this concept of style cards. And also, for example, there is one called Agility Rider that is, in my opinion, the best on the market. And they can mimic a style. You can copy-paste a snippet of text, and it analyzes it and create some style guides for generating in the same style. So you can use your own style, so your previous content, or you can also use style from famous competitors. For example, you want to write in the style of the New York Times, and you can sample some content, feed it to the Agility Rider, and then the model will create the style guide for the next generation. You can also create style cards focused on the specific content you have on the site. Maybe you have a blog section, a more technical one, and you can use different styles. And you can also create a biography, bio of your writers, even fake writers, and this biography is used to try to mimic the kind of experience and expertise that the kind of writer would inject inside the text. So having the plain control of the style and also this sort of bio that can inspire what the author can write or not is a good way to have really personalized text. So the era of just writing a simple prompt, even 10 lines of prompt to write for me an article optimized, that means anything for an LLM. They know the concept, but they cannot do SEO optimization. It's like when people ask to an LLM to do keyword research or even clusterization. Keyword research and clusterization for us as SEOs professional can just be based on the Google data. We don't have to use the semantic relationships that are inside the LLM, because we want to know how Google considers the keywords. So this idea that the keyword research is not a thing anymore is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous because
from that same knowledge, would you then say, for instance, let's pick a keyword, say dog walking. Let's do that. Nice and easy. So let's say you've typed in dog walking, you grab the content in the top 10, 20 pages, you create maybe a custom LLM model with the content, and then you can start to quiz it based off the content that's there. Is probably going to create more of an understanding, reference how Google's ranking that content. So you could say, you know, what's the top 10 main keywords that have priority within these content pieces, things like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Scraping the content of the top 10, top 20, whatever, is the very first step. And also at the point trying to fill some missing information that is possible to have there. Depending on the niche and on the topic, the human knowledge for sure is an important factor to consider. If you have an expert in the field, it's the process that's changed, because in the past you needed to have experts to write everything. Now it's possible to have an expert to review the content or to suggest some points to include. For example, you start from a brief and then ask to a knowledge expert, an expert in the field, to add just some notes tied to each heading. And then these notes can be used. So if you want to differentiate, you cannot just leverage the competitions, because you can do something very broad, including everything, because you ask the GPT or Claude to put everything that he found on the competitors. But sometimes you need to have some something more or a different angle, a different perspective on the content. But sometimes if the niche is not fully covered by the competition, so you have good competitors, but none of them as real topical authority, in that case, even staying in the common sense, in the shared knowledge, can be enough to rank. Because in that case, what you are leveraging is the topical authority. So it's the broadness, the extension of how you cover the topic. But if you have competitors that are still ranking well and they have a deep topic map, in that case, you need to differentiate too in some way, and not just to scrape the competitors and rewrite what they wrote. So the niche research is more important than ever to try to understand which is the kind and the level of the competition. Again, if you have competitors that are really good in covering a topical map, differentiation is really important. If they are not, go with the topical authority. So create more texts, more articles than they are doing.
Okay. Well, wow. That's that's quite some information. All right, Karl, I'll ask you to
how to paint a wall.
I just wanted to ask you to keep being a pretty face for a while, because I really want to pick Max.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right.
So Max, you mentioned several times that like LLMs and things like that are great for data collections and data collection, and that you get like figures on whatever it is. All right, I'm really curious, and I would like to ask you to like lift the curtain a little bit up and explain how you interpret and translate this, like those figures into something sensible that you can then explain to like regular Joes like me, you know?
Yeah. I would like to distinguish the two phases, the analytical phase and then the scraping part to collect the information and feed the LLM. The analytical phase, for what I do, is essentially a topic gap analysis. Again, you can do the keyword gap analysis with tools, but you can also try to understand how some topics are important, which is the weight of a specific topic on a specific website. Because I said to you before, I want to understand if I'm competing with someone that is covering many topics, but maybe not too broadly each topic. And so I want to see the clusters to understand, okay, this is a very vertical website, or is it a multi-topic? And how broad is the way that they cover each topic? Starting from them, after analyzing the first 3-5 main competitors, I can figure out if there are some sub-niches that are not so covered, because the topic are in some way on the competitors' websites, but the cluster is not so big, is not so dense, so is not so interconnected. In that case, I change my initial idea of going to the main niche and then decide to start covering the sub-niche, where I find the gaps, where I find some weaknesses. So the first part of the analysis is always oriented to decide the niche and to find the opportunities based on the gaps or the weaknesses of the competitions.
And then when you're publishing, Max, so you then tend to go for those gaps first. And
yes,
then,
exactly.
And then hopefully you leverage that and it builds up, and then you can take the authority.
Exactly. I build up from there.
Yeah.
I want to have a starting point that is easy enough to have some impressions and even traffic in the first very few months or weeks, and then I want to establish my authority starting from there. But it's important to have at least one sub-niche or maybe two where you know that you are strong enough to be there, even if you didn't start a big link building campaign.
That's kind of
I
like
generally go with expired domains too. This is as an important point for sure, and it continues to work perfectly. Also using redirects. I buy a lot of expired domains just for redirecting them to my internal pages or my own
juicing up
page
your existing website
or whatever. I sometimes build a small PBN network, but I prefer to use the expired domains just for redirect after rebuilds. Redirect work
it's a lot less
too.
management as well, isn't it? PBN's become a bit of a nightmare over time, having to keep on top of them, and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
a similar strategy that we used to use in the gambling niche. Was my opinion always was win on the long tails and the primaries will come in. So it was always go after the really, really long tail, like lower competition keywords, like the ones that the competitors aren't really active in. Go after those first, and then in time you get in. It's in line with the latest algo update, all of the user metrics and the nav boost. You're getting all of that extra data because you're winning and you're in a position where you're actually gaining impressions and clicks and user behavior signals. Whereas if you go after the main sort of keyword set, you're not going to rank within X amount of time. So you're never going to get those user signals. Update might come along. It might test you, but there's still a small chance of that happening, etc.
Yeah.
That was that's something that we used to do quite a lot, to be fair, in the gambling. That was kind of how we focused initially. And before AI though, like this is so much easier nowadays.
Yeah. I have to say that with local projects, the approach is a little bit different because the analytical phase is not so important. And I mean that in local, there is enough space and you can be sure enough that the topical authority is not so common. So you don't have to really go down, niche down to try to figure out which are the first silo that you can build. First of all, is tied to the services offered by the business. You cannot invent anything that is outside what they can effectively offer on the market. But secondly, the competition level is not so, at least in Italy and in the countries where I work, but I know the situation in the US too, and it's the same. I've seen a lot of projects just going on with pure AI, just with starting with keywords and asking for mid-text generation, mid-quality text generation, and it can be enough. And also the dose of automation in local, it's much higher because the tactics, at least the tactics that I use, like the so-called entity elevation or a way to reinforce and corroborate your business entity, creating an ecosystem of interlinked properties like the social fortress, a cloud stack, the website, satellite sites like Weebly, G-Site, or whatever. Once you start to multiply, to corroborate the entity neighbor by neighbor, you can also go to the weak spot on the map and then point to that kind of weak spot. So you search for weaknesses not in content, but in the geographical areas. And you start from there, and then you can expand your proximity starting from there. So the approach is slightly different. The weak spot on the SERP that I search for local projects are based on geo, on proximity, and the weak spots on national projects or content sites are based on the gap in the content created by the competitors. So it's a different way to find which is the sweet point to start and having something back from Google from the beginning.
Wow. All right. Speaking of competitions, of competition. All right. How would I put this? Does using like this tech, whether it's LLMs or anything that helps automating collecting data and doing your analysis and stuff like that, do these things actually help getting ahead of the competition, or it totally depends on the way you use them, your expertise? I mean, do they give it like some head start of sorts?
Yeah, for sure you will have a start, but then again, depending on the level of the competition, you really need to have something more once you establish your relevance in the eyes of Google, and so Google's know that you are starting to cover some subtopic very well. Then you have to put more and more efforts in the quality of the generated text. Another thing that is possible to leverage, like big data, is not only scraping the competitions, but if you find a niche where there are public databases available, connecting the database with an LLM is a great way to go. I can give some examples. I am aware of a project based on the NBA statistics. So there is a public API just to retrieve anything since the beginning of the NBA, every player, every statistics available. And starting from them, you can create an informational website, an historical one based on all the players we had in the history of the NBA. And you have correct informations because they come directly from the database with the official data. Another thing that I've seen in Estonia was based on the OnlyFans database. In that case, the retrieval was the name and the city of the models, because there is no website with the geography, the local of the models. So it's something interesting for people to have this kind of information. So a very basic site based on these informations and creating the full biography and the locality of the models ranked very well.
I think there's a cool way that you can use this in sort of service-based businesses as well. If there's any, like, for instance, you're a boiler company and there's multiple boiler brands, or most of these boiler brands usually have error codes and things like this. You could very quickly create a full database on like a help guide on your website of all the different error codes. And guess what? You're becoming a bit more relevant. People type in the error code and the boiler name, and you're providing the exact data sheet or data panel that's required as well.
Yeah. Leveraging database is a very good upgrade of the programmatic SEO, because you are not just using data inside a placeholder, but you are using the data to then generate a text. And also some SEOs are starting to experiment, to test with local models. That is for sure something that I encourage to do, just to have some confidence. Sometimes professionals just think, I'm not a developer, no, you don't need to code to use these LLMs locally, like Llama 3 or Mistral or the other open source models. And it's the best and also the cheapest way to experiment with a lot of data to feed the LLM. And then you can, once you have tweaked your prompt and your chain of prompts or whatever you are doing, then you can launch the generation and forget it for a couple of days, even if it's not so fast as the commercial LLMs. It's much more, it's cheaper, and it's possible even to experiment more. So it's something that I encourage to do, to download an interface like Olama or whatever open source interface, and just to play with local models.
Okay, I hope you guys are taking notes, right? Anyone who's listening. All right, we have a question, or two questions in one, from Robert P. Knapp. Is tiered link building still a thing? Got any tips on keeping the money site safe? So that's the question for both of you, I think.
Yeah, so from our point of view, so there's actually we're about, well, we've already launched the service, but it's called Power Post. So it's a concept that me and James kind of came up with. It's basically guest posting on steroids. We've just done a few things on this, where essentially the main issue with guest posts are generally, as a rule of thumb, you go out to a link vendor, supplier, and all they're interested in is do follow backlink. It links to your website. It's a DR 30 plus, whatever, and that's it. Tick box, done. What we're trying to do is you create something that's got it's got all the NLP semantic sort of content. It could be a few thousand words in size. It's all super, super relevant to whatever the post is about. We then go and research what websites or what guest posting sites have the best chance of ranking in that niche. We then post on that website, and then at the same time then do tiered link building and social signals and things like this to boost it up. And we've seen such good progress in rankings for those specific posts, but then to the point that the webmasters actually sometimes reach back out to us and want us to do more, because we're ranking content on their website, which is generating more user signals for them. And at the same time, the customers are obviously ranking on almost like a parasite SEO, except the whole concept of parasite, and this is what we hated about it, was you're leveraging without giving back to that website owner. You're basically just really leveraging the quality of that site. Whereas this is you're posting on any website. It could be a DR10. It could be it's not about the DR. Is it ranking within that vertical? And, does this have the best place to rank or best ability or capability to rank? So that is something that we focus heavily on. And it's always, whenever I'm doing audits of websites, tier link building is the one thing that you can almost guarantee everyone's lacking. They are all focused on do follow straight to their tier one. And it's the biggest footprint going in my eyes personally. It's such a big footprint that all they're ever getting is do follow links from all these powerful websites. And these websites never have any links to them, rarely have internal links to them. And it's just huge footprints from my personal opinion.
I totally agree. This point of the footprints is totally real. So building in tiers is also a good way to hide some part of your activity in the eyes of Google, in the eyes of your competitions too, is totally effective for sure. I tend to build even 3 tiers, sometimes more. If I'm leveraging tools like black hat tools like GSA, I can build even in 5 or 7 tiers. Sometimes I use as tier 1 my guest post, even the PR distribution, and it's also a good way to ensure more stability for their PR, because the effectiveness of the PR links stay there for 4 to 6 months. Many of them disappears, they clean up. But if the best of your PR distribution URLs are linked by other tiers of backlinks, they will stay there for much more time. So creating the PRs in stack or using tiers 2 on the PRs is effective too. Another way that I use for tiered link building is creating buffers. And for me right now, the best buffers are satellite websites, so like a Weebly website, or also cloud pages, cloud sites, cloud stacks, whatever. Because there are two good reasons for this. First of all, Google really doesn't want to go deep inside the cloud infrastructures, because they have problem with their index. If they start to crawl all these big infrastructures, it would be another issue for them. And also the cloud pages start with a very high domain and page authority, so they can absorb the fluctuations tied to the link building. They can clean the cheap links or cheaper links. Not as tier tools, I never use very bad links at all. But okay, medium links, you can just clean the profile and just siphon the Jews to the money page, money site. And so I always go with 2, 3, sometimes 5 in local projects, 1 cloud page for every local page or for every service page. And then I start to build my tiers 2 on these cloud pages with just 1 link back to the money site. If something doesn't go well, I can just turn off the buffer and the fluctuation is absorbed. And so you have the original ranking that you had before the tiers 2. So the clouds are also indexed very, very fast, depending on the cloud service you use. But there are a couple of them like Bunny, that are like Azure, that are indexed in a couple of days. And then I create a proper blog. I use these cloud sites with real content, optimized content, AI generated, not the same level of optimization that I use on my money properties, but you really have to create a topical cluster, even a small one, 10 articles, then build the tiers 2 and link to the money site. And also something that I noticed over the years, because it's 4 years now that I use the stacking techniques or the cloud stacks, the G stacks, whatever, is that in the past, it was enough to just create tens or even hundreds of cloud pages in tiers. And they were, the Jewish was enough just for medium to low level competition keywords to rank. And so this sort of mass page spam generation. But now it's much better to do proper websites on the clouds, even using an expired domain, and then use them. So create your small website and use it as a buffer. Don't create 100 pages on different clouds interconnected, just relying on the Jews, on the authority of the cloud page per se. No, you need to use maybe an expired domain, or create a proper, reliable, well-looking website. Even the template, some of the old tools used one template for all the clients when building cloud sites. My stacking cloud, for example, is based on WordPress, and you have a page builder that is Live Canvas for creating and tweaking the HTML of each page or component of the page. And so you can create websites that are totally reliable. You can even build for clients and deploying on the cloud because it's cheap, it's safe. We know that WordPress is full of holes, so deploying a website is safest than just deploying a WordPress website. So treat your tier 1s like your own properties, and then go with the tier 2s and tier 3s. So the level of the quality required by a tier 2 is higher now than in the past. You cannot just put a cloud page and then GSA and that's it. No. You still have to put some attention on the PBN network that
I believe in Poland and places like that, GSA is very much still a thing. So
it is.
They seem to love that shit.
It is. I have tons of results, both mine and other guys that I followed the experiments and GSA. GSA, the point is using a tailor-made list. You don't have, that is like a link building. Differentiation is important. If you use the same identical profile, you use the same identical list of websites on GSA, it's just spam because Google have data on the source that you are using for backlinks. But if you create a list that is tailor-made to your project, then GSA is a super effective tool.
Wow. Wow. All right. Thank you guys for your answers. Robert, hopefully, gentlemen, have answered your questions. Yeah, I've been listening to both of you guys, and I was thinking that, yeah, it all sounds really interesting and very informative and cool. But at the end of the day, like, people in this industry, in the SEO industry, or even like pretty much, yeah, mostly in the SEO industry, right, community, are like facing the risk of sudden and drastic change pretty much on a daily basis, right? And well, I know Carl's attitude towards change a bit. I would love him to. I would love you to tell a little bit about it more. But you, Max, you seem like totally chill and not worried about anything in the world. You just know what you're doing. So I would really love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Like, how are you guys prone to change? Are you like, uh, do you handle it proactively or reactively, like things like
Yeah.
that, and how it helps you to not just sustain the businesses that you own and that you keep on growing, but like come up with new ideas and find new opportunities.
So I would say, obviously, one of my main business partners, Dooley, and obviously Kazran, people like that, like, we are always trying to redevelop the system and make things better. So our attitude to change is probably, always try to improve. When it comes to an algorithm update, we're a little bit more laid back on that front. You know, if something's rolling out, we tend to not want to rock the boat. So we will wait until a core algorithm has sort of rolled out before we make any form of decision on changing a strategy, for instance, just because it seems a bit mad to try and on a whim try and get something when you've got no data to back up what you're trying to change, right? So we prefer to sit on our hands for a little bit, see what data comes in, see what the other SEO influencers are doing, run some tests ourselves, and then we'll make an informed decision from that. But reference change in general, we're pretty cool. You know, I'm now a painter decorator by trade. I'm no longer seen as an SEO, so I'm always up for maybe exactly, I'm a wedding planner by trade now. That's what. Although my partner might kill me for saying that because she's done everything. I said yes. So.
All right.
Yeah. You say I'm chilled. It's just because under the blue I've white hairs. And so I've seen so many changes on the market during my activity. I started with multimedia CD-ROMs before the commercial internet was a thing in 91. In 94, my market was destroyed by the internet because there is no reason to print a CD-ROM to have the same content that you can put on the internet. So I had to radically change my business. And I have to say that I've seen the internet, the social media. AI is for sure the biggest thing I've seen in my career. So the potential of disruption of the market is huge, is really huge. For the agency part of my businesses with my business partner, we are discussing since one year now to reorient our services, not only leveraging the AI for, I have these social media teams, so for sure writing the post, the caption, whatever, generating pics is much easier with AI. But the point is also trying to find a different kind of services, not only to adequate the old services to the new technology stack that we can leverage for sure. This is for to improve your outputs, but you also have to start thinking about new things like what's an AI agency now, what's consulting in AI, the adoption of this technology for the businesses is a big problem. They're really, for example, the chatbots will be the new websites. Everyone at some point, even the local businesses, will ask agencies for chatbots. So starting to study those kind of technologies, to create prototypes, is a good way to stay a little bit ahead. That said, again, the velocity of the AI technology is so fast that it's really hard to predict what SEO or whatever digital marketing will be in the future. So there is a lot to do with the clients, if you work with clients, to educate them. Also with the content, we used to do textual content, but now it's very important to produce videos, to produce even more than in the past. It's a couple of years that we say to clients to create podcasts, to create videos, but now is really important again for your entity to distribute your content in different modalities, because this kind of LLMs are now multimodal. And so they can understand your pictures, your videos, and whatever, and try to manipulate the storytelling of your brand through the generation of content on different modalities, and using in a right way structured data to show the search engines how the entities are interconnected is really, really important, more than in the past. People thought when the LLM came out that structural data were going to die, because now the LLM can understand even the not structured content. But it's not the point at all. Both Microsoft and Google are pushing a lot on the adoption of the structured data, because it remains the fastest and cheapest way for them to understand your content and your business entity. Because turning on an LLM to analyze a website is expensive. SEOs tend not to reason at the Google scale, even because they generally don't know the technology as what's behind them. So even after the Google leak, some SEOs think, okay, there is a site vector, a page vector, but we don't know the technology that they are using. It's not that they are analyzing every single page using Gemini. The cost of doing this is so huge, but it's not only the cost, the power that they have to put there, the electricity. And we know that it is the first barrier, because having more kilowatts is regulated by governments. Google cannot just say, I want to build a new huge data center using the same energy of a couple of nations in Europe. It's not possible. So they really have to think about how to integrate technologies and how to use them, even in the bots. The bots are still technologies to collect data from easy data points. They maybe in refining some searches for some specific niches like YMYL, they can go a little bit deeper. But it's not the case that Google's bots now can read your website. It's not the case. The only way to read it and to easily acquire informations is through structured data. So there's still a very important technology to leverage, but not in a spammy way like some SEOs tend to do. They think they're just using every properties in a type. A type is like article, web page, and the properties are the title, the body, the author, whatever. You don't have to use all the properties. You just have to describe what's so important in your eyes about your website. You don't have to stuff keywords or doing this kind of things. As SEOs, try at least not to ruin this specific technology, because us SEOs like to really push hard on the technologies until they have to change something. For structured data, if we use them in a proper way, they are so helpful that trying to have something more, just stuffing keywords in them, is a stupid idea.
All right. Wow. Great. All right. We're little by little we're getting closer to wrapping this up. So I think I have one final question for you guys. All right. First off, should SEOs and digital business owners rage against the machine? And what is the machine? Is it Google? Is it AI? Or is it something altogether different?
I personally would just say no. They should be utilizing it as much as possible. Typical sort of SEO adaptation. It's new technology. It's going to make your life easier.
Even if it's Google throwing shit on you.
Yeah, Google's been throwing shit on SEOs since I've been involved in SEO. It's just always the case, right? At the end of the day, their avenue is to make money from paid ads. If you're not leveraging paid ads, you're an idiot. Start leveraging paid ads as well. You get the quickest amount of data. Stop relying on third-party tools as much, because they're always inaccurate. I can show you, especially in local SEO, I can show you a million keywords, which maybe's in the likes of Ahrefs, SEMrush, it'll say 10 searches a month, but yet you go into impressions and it's got 3,000 searches.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, this is so inaccurate. So start utilizing paid ads, start utilizing AI to even help you. AI is pretty cool to analyze the data that you actually get out of paid ads, and it can very quickly help you work out what keywords are actually quite profitable for you. So yeah, utilize that as well. I just think adapt, change, and keep with those principles. Always look to improve. That would be my view on it. What's the point of getting angry? If you're going to get angry about it, leave the industry, because you're probably not going to survive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, the machine is both Google and AI, because Google is an AI company, a machine learning based company since maybe 15 years now, 10 years for sure. So the only point is that OpenAI forced them to put the technology on the front end, but they had it on the back end since forever for data analysis. Now they were forced because they didn't even think to release a product based on their technologies, but OpenAI forced them to do so. In this moment, if I was at the beginning of my career, instead of trying to find loopholes in the Google algos, that was something very fun for me to do in the last 10, 12 years. Now I'd start from what Google is really pushing. And so it's local and it's e-commerce. I have a couple of examples where in an e-commerce I put 200 articles AI generated, and just because it's a Shopify e-commerce, the content is performing great. The same content on a different domain, just content website, didn't perform at all. So in this moment, even using your creativity to you want to go to the affiliation and content, try to put an e-com in a way that is reliable for Google, or go for the local. If you're starting your career, for sure, don't go right now to the content websites. Okay, you can do your test experiments. That is always good for learning. But I would suggest young SEOs to, instead of trying to force the algo to keep what they are giving right now. And so choose the market where they want to operate, to work, depending on what Google is pushing right now.
All right.
So try to have an ally in Google too, sometimes can be useful.
All right. So no point in raging against the machine.
Yeah, because the machine this time is really, yeah.
At the
The
end of the
machine
day.
has no emotion, so what's the point of raging against it?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Good one. Good one. All right,
Good
guys.
point.
Are you planning to attend any events in the remaining part of this year? And
So I
what
think
are those events?
yes, I think
Where
I'm
can people meet you?
doing one at Coreys if he just put it on. It sounds like it could be end of September.
It,
I think
it seems like it's going to be something like a private mastermind or something like
so,
that.
yeah, and then I think there's one just the Chiang Mai. That's all I'm planning on.
Yeah.
Doing. Yeah, I've too much on with wedding and then honeymoons, and so I don't think I'm going to be able to get to any others this year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What about you, Max?
I'd like to go to Chiang Mai again. I was there last year. My plan was to stay for 1 month. Then I stayed there for 6 months, and then I went to Vietnam too, to the Mat Singers Conference. And this year I'd like to attend again the Chiang Mai, and then I'd like to go to India to visit friends, because now I have a lot of friends and also collaborators in India. So I'd like to spend a couple of months in India too. This
Amazing.
autumn.
So if anyone out there is going to go to the Chiang Mai SEO conference in November, or travel to Corey's private mastermind in Turkey, yeah, you know where you can meet these two guys. Yeah, and where can people find you online, guys? Just to get in touch with you and, I don't know, maybe pick your brain or look for partnerships or collaborations or services, whatever it is.
Yeah, so my personal website, karlhudson.co.uk, or obviously if you want an interest in any services or things, obviously search roo.com.
Yeah.
Right.
And for me, I have the stacking.cloud right now. There is a contact point there, so you can ask whatever you need to know about the tool. And also my agency is studiomakoto.it, and my Facebook profile, I'm active on Facebook. And also another free tool that I want to recommend, I deployed it 2 years ago, is called entitieschecker.com. It is the tool for doing entity gap analysis based on a SERP. It's totally free, and there is a contact point there too to contact me if you want.
Amazing. I'll add this to in the description box, so you guys out there can later find the link in the description of this episode. Yeah, before we wrap things up, I would also like to mention that Karl here is an Odys mentor. So if you want to pick his brain on whatever SEO link building and business challenges you might have, just go to odys.global/mentors/Karl-Hudson, or just go through the mentors page and find him there. Book a call with him whenever he has free time between his wedding, honeymoon, and other things. Yeah, and then you'll get to pick his brain. Also, make sure to like this video, leave your comments, maybe share with your friends, colleagues, business partners, whoever, because I mean, this episode is a gold mine of useful, actionable information. So you can just pick it apart and apply it for your work. And Max, Karl, it was a pleasure having you on the show, and hopefully this is not the last time.
Sure.
we get to chat in whatever combination it'll happen next time. So yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Cheers, Brad.
Cheers. Yeah, once again, thank you. So see you around. Talk later.
Thank you. See
Cheers.
you
And
guys.
see you around next time. Cheers.
See you. Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap. Yeah. Wow. That was intense in the best way possible.